Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your Friday edition of the Gersnet Podcast, hosted by myself, Craig Gray. It's Friday the 27th of September. We're live here on YouTube tonight, and we're here to discuss last night's victory over Malmo in the Europa League. We are the Rangers podcast made for fans by fans. All of our content is free. You can get us over at the website gersnet.co.uk, where you can read a great forum, some articles, and a history archive as well. You can also get us over on Twitter at Gersnet Online. And just before I introduce my guest for this evening, I need to give a message from our partners over at Forrest Precision Engineering. They are a subcontract Glasgow-based engineering company, and they've been a big commercial supporter of Rangers for many years. We're absolutely delighted that they're backing our podcast. You can get them over at forestprecisioneng.com, and you can also visit the Forrest Precision Executive Lounge, a stunning new hospitality area within the historic main stand. For information on how to book this unique and intimate space, you can email the club via hospitality@rangers.co.uk. And I'm joined tonight, ladies and gentlemen, by Mr. Stewart Weir. Stewart, we can hear you, but we can't see you, mate. Well, we might not be able to hear him as well. So I don't really know what's happening with that one. So whilst we're waiting for him, I suppose just discuss some of the match for last night, and hopefully he interrupts me at some point. It was obviously a great win for Rangers. First ever win against a Swedish opposition, I think. First ever win in Sweden. So obviously it was getting a bit of a monkey off the back there, really.
You hear me now, Craig?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank God.
Yeah,
I thought I was going to have to do a one-man show. And
No,
I'm
no,
like,
no.
what am I going to do?
I think I've got some ghosts in the machine. I missed the start of your introduction there. But I am here alive and kicking, if not in full view, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. And just to pick up on what you were saying there about the other night there and Rangers winning, I think, against any Swedish team, it's a major achievement for Rangers, given some of the defeats that they've had, rather sizable ones at times. But I thought the whole performance in midweek was really quite superb.
It was. No, it's a shame we can't see you. Sure, we pride ourselves in being the handsomest Rangers podcast out there. So
that would not be difficult.
Well, exactly. But no, it's just my lovely face that's on show tonight. We'll start off then. Obviously, we were mentioning there about results against Swedish team. It kind of felt like a bit of a statement win to me, Stuart. Because we've been fairly decent the last couple of weeks since the game at Parkhead. Sort of been plodding away. Two wins, 1-0, 3-0, 2 clean sheets. But I've not really seen, a complete performance. And I don't think it was quite a complete performance, if you know what I mean. There was still wee spells in the game, mostly at the start of the second half, where Malmo came into it, as you would expect. But we dealt with it pretty well, and I think that could be a statement win, and I certainly hope it could be.
I think the whole thing was that Rangers got off to, an absolute flyer. And there have been occasions in the past when they made a good start, and literally within 5 minutes, you'd forgotten actually how good a start they'd made, because they were either conceded a goal or were toiling against the opposition. I thought they got off to an absolute flyer. The goal, in the first minute set Rangers up. And it meant then, because of the other thing is you've got to take into account, because of the nature of European competition now, you don't have this whole home and away thing. You're put up against different opposition. So it meant in some respects that Malmo had to try and chase the game. I thought Rangers, covered themselves really well defensively and in terms of their containment of the opposition. And all in all, I mean, it was a 2-0 victory. If Rangers had scored 3 or 4 or 5, I don't think anybody would complain. The only downside I would say was the fact that Rangers had opportunities to score more and didn't, and that was a bit of a black mark against them, the team. But all in all, I think everybody that took to the field gave more than enough, and everybody left a satisfied customer.
No, absolutely. That is always a frustration when you're on top of these games and you're not taking your chances. I mean, had one Dessers clean through, Caston Wilsville, who we'll talk about later as well, clean through. I think Berjami made the wrong pass for that one. The other one where Berjami should have hit the shot and he squared it to Dessers.
That was utterly that is the kind of thing that you do at the fives when your pal hasn't scored and he's having a nightmare, and it's like, I'll give you one because I've scored 9, and it was as soon as he looked to go inside and hit the pass, I think I let that scream at that point, because it didn't look as if it was going to reach him, and also why in God's name are he passing the ball back away when you should take a shot, even if it's on it's on your good foot, your weaker foot. Just hit the target and make the goalkeeper do something. And, I think he had 2 opportunities. One to either hit it back across the keeper or one to go a near post, and he fancied neither. And, I think in another scenario, the service revolver would have been getting drawn for, cowardice, because he really should have taken it himself.
I know, it was a bad one. Speaking of Barami, speaking about his performance, I thought that incident aside, I thought he was brilliant. He's starting to get his game time now. Coming into it, he got an assist last week, got his goal last night as well. And what a strange goal. I mean, Dessers doing his usual, does everything right, rounds the keeper. It gives himself a horrible angle. All they're saying is, thank God that shot hit the post and it didn't go out of play. But he'll probably tell you that he meant it. So fair play to the big man.
I think he'll probably be telling his pals it was a kind of 1-2 that he decided to play and got away with it. But I think the fact that the other striker falling in, I'm not quite sure. It looks like a kind of guy who could play almost in attack or as a second striker or the kind of centre forward position. It looks as if he's the type of player who's comfortable as long as he's going forward. And I think that the fact that he was on hand to get the ball that hit the post tells you everything you need to know, that he's actually pretty enthusiastic to get in the score sheet and to join in the attack.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I thought it was a pretty good performance from putting a few great balls, like the chances we were talking about earlier. Dessers one where he puts it over the bar, and Caston Virgil as well. They're both created by him. So on another day, he could have had 2 goals, 2 assists. If we start getting more clinical. But I thought all in all he's been good. I mean, on the show notes I put down, has he made the left wing position his own? And I'm saying that because that's kind of where the manager's played him. And obviously we've got our injury issues there. Matondo's out for a long time now, Cortez for the foreseeable. So it'll be interesting to see what the manager does going forward, Stuart, because obviously we're going to have Yefte coming back who can play in that position as well. Yilmaz might be coming back soon as well to play probably about 3 games before he gets injured again. But it's definitely a selection dilemma that the manager's got for the games coming up.
Yeah, I wonder the position that he actually took up. I don't think he was an out and out sort of. He was left sided. I thought he actually came in quite a bit, almost like a kind of inside forward, which actually allowed other people to kind of fill the void either, wide or just behind them. I don't want to say that him not or Rangers or him not really knowing where he was playing made it difficult for the opposition, but I think it did at times. I thought if you watch the game, I think Malmo found it difficult to pick him up because he kind of floated around a general area and then suddenly made a run or a dart into space. And I think he his movement caused a lot of problems, not necessarily his touch or the passes he made. I think just the general position he took up and and the sort of positions he took made it difficult for Malmo. They were, I mean, you have to remember the results that Rangers have had historically against Swedish teams have not exactly been the best. You know, you get in through the history books and look at the number of losses against even average Swedish teams. I don't think this Malmo team is as good as some that I've seen. But then again, you can only beat what's in front of you. And I think if Rangers had taken all their chances, they really would have won that game comfortably.
Yeah, I agree. The thing with Barami is as well that the last two goals that he scored have both been within the first minute of the game. Obviously last night, and then his goal for Albania at the Euros against Italy after about 10 seconds or whatever it was. So he's definitely a guy that likes to make a fast start, and here's hoping that he can continue to push on a Rangers jersey and get those numbers that we desperately need for the areas of the pitch. Sure, just coming on then, we mentioned him, Castle Virgil came in at left back. Was a wee bit surprised. I did expect Sterling to play there, and I know Sterling's not been great lately, but I felt the manager would have just put in there sort of steady Eddie, and what have you. But he made a big call putting in Castle Virgil, who's obviously only played about 10 minutes for
Mm-hmm.
Rangers at the end of that game against Dundee last week. And it's also an unnatural position for him. He's a right back, but we know he's versatile. So to do that in a game where, let's be honest, when you're looking at the group, the section beforehand, and you're plotting out where you're going to get your points from, we knew it was going to be a tough game, but you were thinking we probably need to get something for this game if we want to give ourselves the best chance of going through. So it was a big game, it was a big risk, but it paid off, sure, because I thought the guy was absolutely solid.
You sometimes have to gamble, and I'll be honest. I don't think it was as big a gamble as maybe what you might have thought of, before the start. I think because he was maybe struggling a bit, not in terms of the personnel, but maybe to make his mind up as to who the best person in that position would be. I think it made it easier for him to go with maybe his gut instinct. It paid off, and again, the performance that you got would not have suggested at all that he was a guy who was virtually an unknown in that Rangers starting lineup. He gave a pretty assured performance. And again, sometimes you're better just getting pitched in and told, you're playing, we need a performance out of you. Certainly got that. And it'll be interesting to see now going forward what the manager does in terms of personnel, whether that's the kind of performance that Clement's now thinking, I've got somebody here, I've got somebody who can do a job for me, or whether it reverts back to one or two other players that have been tried and tested in that position.
Mm-hmm. What I liked about him was the fact that he was a defender whose first thought was to defend. I mean, talk about a throwback, eh? That doesn't seem to happen anymore.
It's not. You're right. I mean, I think there are quite a few people drawing the parallels between him and what has tended to happen on the other side of the pitch in that kind of position. Now, what I will say is that I thought Tavernier was really disciplined the other night there, and I know he scored goals and vital goals and all in. I thought it was a solid performance. Both helping and assisting in attack and also defensively. Okay, you had maybe your one or two sort of bomb scare moments, but all in all, I thought the back four or back five, if you like, with the goalkeeper, I thought that was one of the easier nights I'll ever have in a European tie.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely seems it. You mentioned earlier that Malmo obviously never done much going forward, but at the same time, if a defence isn't there, then they will pick holes and they'll try and score. So you still need to do a job. When we've got 3 clean sheets in a row now, Proper and Suter, I never mentioned it in the show notes, but we may as well just mention it. They seem to be striking up a bit of a partnership now. I think Suter, certainly the last 3 games, has been pretty solid. Proper, I think, starting to grow in a Rangers jersey. I was really harsh on him after the Celtic game. Rightly or wrongly, I don't know, we'll find out in due time, but I was really harsh on him. But then you kind of think, well, he's not had a proper pre-season with the squad. He's only played a couple of games. You know, better defenders than him have tried and failed at Celtic Park as well. So maybe give the guy a chance. And that, to be fair, I think the last 3 games he's been solid. Suter, I think, yeah, he's been solid as well. But the one thing that just worries me with Suter is he's always got a mistake in him. And whilst it's all well and good doing it against Dundee United, and now Malmo, small steps, Hibs and Sunday will hopefully just take care of itself. But then next Thursday, it's a far tougher test in Lyon, and we'll see what these, we'll need to see what these defenders do up against a better team like that next week, won't we?
There's something in what you say there. There is. He doesn't resemble them. They're kind of different players. They certainly have a different maybe physicality about them. Certainly a different presence amongst the team. But there is something a few times the other night, and a couple of games previous to that, where I thought something reminded me of Amoruso with Suter. Amoruso had a few issues when he first came to Rangers, and then settled into a game and was a mainstay of anything that Rangers achieved. Now, as I say, they're like chalk and cheese if you actually look at it to them. But there was just something the other night that I thought that Suter was actually the kind of senior partner in that defence, and had almost grown into the role. And it wouldn't have mattered really who you'd put beside him. I thought that Suter actually looked like the player that so many people have said he would be or would become, or that's the kind of player that's actually in there. You've just not seen it yet. So I thought he was pretty assured in what he did. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'll take another couple of performances against better opposition before I'm totally convinced. But there was just something about him that he kind of made it look easy at times. And, you saw him as well, sort of backing the instructions right across the back four at different times. And I thought to myself, there's a guy that's maybe sort of grown into the role simply because he now realises that somebody has to do it, and it might as well be him.
No, it's a good point. Castle Burgess' interview after, he was talking about the sort of role that John Souttar's had in the game last night since he arrived, which I thought was quite nice. But I think that shows in practice what you're talking there about, this sort of new sort of leadership role that he's taken on. And, we did lose a lot of senior leaders, in inverted commas, in the summer. So we're going to need guys to step up. And I mean, to be fair, he has done really well the last 3 games. And hopefully it can continue going into Sunday and beyond. The second goal comes around, Stuart. Great finish by Ross McCausland too. I think the fans are kind of split on him. I kind of look at him in the more positive way. I mean, I don't think he's, the second coming of George Best, but I think he's a decent enough player. He can make contributions. And he's also coming through our youth academy and the Rangers fans. So I think that, I've made the point here of the question: do we give players like him and other young players enough chances to come through? I think the simple answer to that is no. But I do also think that maybe some Rangers fans have got perhaps too high expectations sometimes, in the sense that as soon as a young player comes through, as soon as you realise that they're not going to be as good as like a Barry Ferguson, they just say, oh, he's rubbish, he's never going to make it. At the end of the day, football is a squad game. You need squad players to come in, contribute as well. And I think your youth academy would be a success, even if you're getting a few players a year that can sort of plug the holes and fill the gaps in the squad, because really that's what a youth academy should be doing. I think it was Gary Neville that said that unless your backup choice is a youth player, your youth academy's failed. And I think that's fairly decent point. To be fair,
Just,
probably the only decent point he's made this week. But I mean,
well, here's a kind of question and an answer for you. You know, you want young players to get a chance and you want them to do well. Other than Barry Ferguson, who would you mention in the last 20 years?
Nobody. I mean, certainly nobody made that impact. I mean, there has been decent players come through.
There's been decent players have come through, but you know, Barry Ferguson, I would say, is something of a rarity. Probably why he's held in such high esteem with Rangers fans. And Barry Ferguson, aged 19, looked the real deal. Not every player will do that. Some players will be into their 20s, early 20s before they establish themselves. What I would say is that, you know, and again, by the position he plays, you know, wingers or wide players historically can be a hit or a miss. You know, you have to remind, or you have to, you know, you speak to people and look at all the greats that Rangers have had as wide players, you know, Willie Henderson, Willie Johnson, Davy Cooper, you know, you name it. Every one of them went through a phase where it was like people, you know, basically saying he couldn't kick his arse. And by their very nature, a winger will blow hot and cold. I mean, I remember Davy Cooper against, I think it was Norway in 1989, went to beat the defender, and the guy stuck his foot out and knocked it out for a throw. And after the game, Cooper went, I just knew it was going to be my night. And that was the first time he'd actually run at a guy. So, I mean, wingers are pretty fickle in terms of confidence levels. When they're on it, they really are on it. If they're not on it, they stand out alone in terms of players on the pitch, and it's dead easy to spot a winger and dead easy for the fans to pick on him at times if he's not doing his job. I thought it was a great finish, a really good finish. You know, where he put it low to the goalkeeper's left. The goalkeeper was never going to get that, and he didn't hit it in with, you know, supreme power. It was more placement than anything else. I thought it was a really good finish, and here's hoping, if anything, it'll give him a bit of confidence going forward. But, you know, again, I think by their very, as a breed and by their very nature, wingers don't always get it 100% every time they play.
Ah, you're right there. I think as well with, you know, the likes of our you've set up. I mean, young players. I know we'll say my cousin's 21, so technically he's no young, but I think nowadays more so, a lot of footballers are starting to sort of make a breakthrough, like really sort of later on, maybe in their sort of mid-20s, because when you think about it, I mean, look at, I mean, guys like, you know, even Cole Palmer and stuff like that, who I think he's about, 22, 23 or something like that. So, but he's really only came on the scene the last year.
It's difficult for a winger.
Because, yeah.
A winger is isolated.
Aye.
And it doesn't matter how good a winger is. A winger will not always have their best game. And I'll argue with anybody on that one. I've been at Old Trafford and seen Ryan Giggs when he was at his peak have absolutely woeful performances. Because they get the ball, they're isolated when they get it. They've got to either run inside or beat somebody on the outside. And the word I use there is the important one. They have to beat people to be able to use the ball, and it's not always the easiest thing, you know. And you know, people say, "Oh, I don't think he's as good as this player or that player." Everybody that's watched a football club or football in general over a period of time will tell you not every winger will have an 8 out of 10 every time they play. And that applies to everybody. And I mean everybody I've watched. I know that historically people say, oh, but Willie Waddle and all this. Listen, I could speak to people that would tell you, and quite esteemed journalists and watchers of the game would tell you that these sort of guys, you know, Willie Henderson and all the rest of it, didn't always turn in, man of the match performances. They blew hot and cold as well, because all you need is a defender to get on top of you, make a couple of tackles, and all your efforts go to waste. So, I think a winger, the most you can look for is that he does it consistently. He will never do it all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's it, and consistency is the key moving forward. And it'll be interesting to see if he gets a wee run of games. I mean, we'll come on to the Hibs game later on, but I don't think Cherny covered himself in glory last night, so it'll be interesting to see if the manager maybe gives McCausland on the rod over him on Sunday. But we'll come to that when it happens later on. In terms of the manager, Stuart, people have been sort of having wee grumbles and slight moans about, I don't know what he's doing in terms of a style of play, a system, this, that, and the next thing. To be fair, I think the last few games we've started to see small steps, and as I say, last night seemed to be a fruition in the last couple of weeks coming together. And I do think you can see what the manager's trying to do with this team, in terms of keeping the wingers wide, inverted fullbacks with the likes of Tav, and also as well really energetic midfield. I thought Conor Barron was excellent last night, to be fair to him as well. And Diamande, I think, probably had his best game of the season.
Yeah.
After a silly early booking, and I was kind of worried for him because he does have a tendency to make a couple of fouls a match. But if anything, the booking actually helped him, and he seemed to just calm down after that. And I thought he was great, and we're even getting guys like Raskin back as well. So I do think we're now starting to see what the manager's trying to do. There she is, Stuart. If we drop points on Sunday, or we get battered off Leon next week, the ice will be out again, and we've not got a clue what this guy's trying to do. And that's just the way it is here.
Listen, Rangers are in a group, European-wise, where there are some really good clubs in there. And I know people say, but it's Europa League, we should be, holding our own. Really? I think you need to look domestically to see where Rangers are at, or Rangers have been. And it's not always been brilliant. I think as well, the whole thing about the players, it's taking a while to maybe get an established team. I still don't think it's fully established. But if you look at the team that he inherited a year or so ago, and look where we're at now, I think you have to realise that slowly but surely he's moulding a team that he is happier with. He's not trying to bang square pegs into round holes, or bang round pegs into holes that are not there. I think he's actually getting guys that can play specific positions, and also play alongside guys that are playing specific roles. So it's coming slowly. I think, you're always going to have a game, or maybe a couple of games, where it's not going to work for you. I think you saw that most sort of graphically in the Old Firm game. But I think he started the guys to think along similar lines to themselves. There's more I think there's more of a discipline. Maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't. I think there's more of a discipline to Rangers in terms of how they line up, and how they, formation-wise, how they approach a game. I think you're now looking at, if a ball's knocked into a certain area, you'll think there's a player will be there or round about there that will actually get it, as opposed to just guessing. I think maybe, about a year ago, when it really was a guessing game, who might pick the ball up. So I think it's taken him a while to get rid of the and you also have to remember, it's okay saying he's got a philosophy or a game plan. It's very difficult to put those cases over to guys that that you don't want to use or utilise, or who are even going to be there. You're looking for guys that are going to buy in to the system you want to play, and the best players to do that are the guys that you brought into the club, because you don't want to disappoint a manager that's giving you a chance. And I think slowly but surely you're actually seeing that with Rangers. I thought Rangers played well at times against Malmo. It wasn't, it was never a 5-star performance, or guys getting 10 out of 10s in the man of the for man of the match. But I think in terms of competence, at no time did I think that Malmo were suddenly going to get back into the game and run riot. And I have to say, I've seen a few games against Malmo in past times where actually you are panicking at them getting the ball and running at you because you thought it would lead to a goal.
No, I think you used a great word there, Stuart. Discipline. It was a disciplined performance because, it's weird looking at like the possession stats in that. I mean, Malmo were 60-40 possession and not a shot on target. So we never had the ball for most of that game last night. We had to pick our moments carefully, and we did, because it seemed as if every time we went forward we were going to score, and weren't it for missing a few sitters we would have. Very sort of reminiscent of Mourinho. He done an interview in that game where he beat Barca when he was Inter manager, and he just says, let them have the ball. Do you know what I mean? That's what they want. Just let them have the ball. Just because a team's got the ball doesn't mean they're going to do something with it. Let them have the ball. We'll strike when the moment's right. And I think there was a lot of that in our performance last night. And to be honest, that's the kind of football that I love to see. Sort of no smash and grab, because it wasn't quite like that, but picking your moments, being clever, and then when the moment strikes, go in for the kill. That's the type of stuff that I love.
No, I think I paraphrase it, and I'll probably get it wrong. Somebody will probably correct me. Not that I can see what's being said, but there used to be a Pirelli advert. In fact, there was a number of Pirelli adverts for the tyres, and it basically said, power without traction means nothing. And I think sometimes possession without actually doing something with it means nothing. There are a great many teams out there over the years who've been absolutely first class and superbly confident at allowing the opposition to play with the ball, because they know they only need to get it a couple of times to actually score the goals. I don't think Rangers are anywhere near that just now, but there is a kind of confidence that Rangers, and this goes back to the whole thing about clean sheets. There's a confidence just now with Rangers that if they keep a clean sheet, they're in the game. And that's something you've not seen with Rangers sides for a long, long, long time.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, and it's small steps really for me. Just keep winning. That's all you can do. After the game next Sunday, we've got another international break. So 3 games to go until then. Just keep winning. Next Thursday will be tough, but hopefully we can pick something up. But I think we should be going in to try and win it. Every home game you want to try and win it in this, and if you can do that, then you'll manage to get yourself through. Just before we finish up, then Stuart, just wanted to touch on the game on Sunday. Hibs at Ibrox. Hibs been a weird team the last sort of couple of seasons, chopping and changing managers. They finally went with David Gray in the summer, who it seemed had been on secondment about 5 separate times for the job, but he finally got it. A pretty indifferent start to the season for them. Looks as if Martin Boyle's going to be it as well, which won't lie, is a bit of a boost for us. I don't want to go in overconfident because it's Hibs, and they do have a history of causing upsets against us, but really for me this should be a game that we should be going in looking to take a few goals off them and really make a stamp of authority in the league, because we've had a couple of decent performances, but we're a few goals behind Celtic now after getting scudded a couple of weeks ago, so we need to get the goal difference back up. But at the same time as well, you need to balance that with the fact that realistically this time tomorrow we're probably going to be 8 points behind them, so it puts the pressure on for the game on Sunday. And I mean, I know we're all happy because we won last night in the Europa League, but this is precisely the reason that I don't want to be in the Europa League, because by the time your game comes around the Sunday, you're always playing catch up, and there's a lot more pressure on you to win the games. But that is what it is.
It's the whole thing. You're right in terms of the timing of these matches. All I would say is, as Winston Churchill once said, one is enough. If Rangers score a goal and get the win, then you take 3 points and they're still in the contest long term. I think hoping for goals and wishing for goals is one thing. Actually scoring them is another. I think Rangers. I'm not quite sure the opposition might be, but one of these days Rangers are going to get it right, and they're going to they'll score goals almost for fun because it'll just happen. And I think once they do that, then there'll be a belief that they can actually score goals. I think Rangers are almost frightened just now, where they know how important the goals are because they don't want to concede any because they know that then the game's alive again. So against Hibs wouldn't be a bad place to start. I think I think Rangers have shown more than enough at different times this season that they can be quite capable at times. I don't, I might regret this. I don't see Hibs being any kind of force really. I think they're still finding their feet under a new manager and with new players and the likes. They have upset Rangers in the past. Numerous occasions. But I think honestly, there've been enough over the last couple of performances from Rangers to suggest that they've actually got a game plan, and not just having a game plan, they're actually able to execute it. I thought they did that really well in midweek against Malmo. I think Rangers set up a certain way to play a certain style, make the most of certain players, and I think they did that. Hence the reason why there was almost like a glow of satisfaction in that performance. And I don't think any fan would, be too upset if they left the game on Sunday with a similar glow about them and 3 points in the bag.
Well, here's hoping it's a big day as well. The fact that Ibrox is going to be fully open to the public for the first time this season. So it'll be good to be back for a league game in a full Ibrox and see the UB in their new section as well in a league game where there's going to be a full stadium. So hopefully it'll be a good spectacle on Sunday and we can get the 3 points. But I think that's a good place to wrap up there. Guys, I'll be back on Sunday with Scott at the game after the press conference doing a post-match video and report for that. And we will also be back on Sunday live on YouTube at 9:30. It'll be John, Alan and Chris on that show to review the Hibs game on Sunday and preview Leon on the Thursday. So all that's left to do now is thank my guest for coming on, Mr. Stewart Weir. Thanks for coming on. It was good to see you.
Yeah, well, it's great to see you. Obviously, you can't see me, and you can't see me waving. And honestly, I'm waving and toasting your health with a rather large drink just now. But I don't know, the gremlins are in the machine, and we'll try and get it sorted for the next time.
Yes, we certainly will. You know what technology's like, eh? Thanks for joining me, mate. Thanks, guys at home. See you soon. Bye-bye.